let's talk about growth. In our world today, we are so obsessed with GDP, profit margin, endless expansion. For decades, we've treated our economies like machines, cranking out more, bigger, faster. But economist Kate Raworth suggests and asks, what if we treated our economies like living systems? Sorry to interrupt you. What is your name and what do you study?
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm a third-year economist here at Johns.
Nice. So I want to ask, what is Economics 101? What is one of the first things you learn in your degree at Cambridge?
So I think the first thing we probably learned was distinguishing between microeconomics and macroeconomics.
Yeah.
And then we sort of look at models of how the economy operates at a foundational level.
Yeah.
So the idea of growth and the different sorts of factors that come into growth in terms of government spending, investment, and how they can fuel consumption and get the economy growing. There's a certain framework in which we think about the economy, definitely about loads of figures, looking at whether the figures are going in the direction we want them to. Are we growing? Are we going upwards? When actually there's a lot more to think about in terms of a sustainable economy.
Yeah.
We have to think about inequality, for instance, and bridging the gap between
good.
those on the highest incomes and lowest.
Wow, that's amazing. Let me introduce you to Doughnut Economics. In very simple terms, Doughnut Economics is the idea that we meet everyone's needs without trashing the planet. For example, nothing in nature grows forever. If you look at trees, they grow for a certain amount of time and then they mature, but they still flourish. The only thing in nature that grows forever in a flourishing body is cancer. Doughnut Economics argues that it's time to replace this cancerous model with one that respects ecological limits and prioritizes human dignity. So the Doughnut framework is where we meet everyone's needs: food, housing, healthcare, community, without overshooting Earth's boundaries. The middle is the just and right space for humanity. Okay, so how do we translate this theory into practice? Well, that's where architecture comes in. Imagine this, a village in Burkina Faso where every house is a living canvas, walls covered in geometric patterns, symbols and stories, all hand-painted by women of the community. These aren't just houses, they are a manifesto of culture, collaboration and climate resilience. These houses are mud structures built using local clay, straw and cow dung. But what's wild is that every 2 years, the community comes together to repair and repaint them. These designs aren't just random, by the way, they are a language. Triangles for strength, zigzags for water, circles for unity. And get this, it's the women who lead this. They pass down the patterns through generations using natural pigments like clay, charcoal to create these bold black, white and red designs. But why does it matter? Well, it matters because it isn't just art, it's architecture as a ritual. The act of rebuilding and repainting isn't just maintenance, it's a way to strengthen social bonds, preserve identity and adapt to the environment. The thick walls keep interiors cool in Burkina's warm climate, and the materials totally biodegradable. No concrete, no steel, no carbon footprint, just earth. Kate Raworth says that we need to live in a safe space between social justice, meeting human needs, and ecological limits, not wrecking the planet. And I believe that the Painted Houses of Tiébélé in Burkina Faso does exactly this. Let's start off with the social foundation. Number one is community well-being. The rebuild every 2 years is a collective act ensuring that no one is left out and that everyone pitches in. It fosters that sense of belonging, community, togetherness, creating that social glue. Number two is cultural identity. The designs aren't just pretty, they are a resistance against cultural erosion. In a world that is obsessed with modernity, this is architecture saying that our traditions really do matter. Number three is gender equity. Women aren't just practicing here, they are the custodians of knowledge. That's power, contrary to the Western world where there's a great divide between male and female architects. That is simply not the case in Tiébélé, Burkina Faso. Women are literally at the forefront of dictating what story the building will tell, what symbolism will be used, what type of color, red, white, and black. Now moving on to the ecological ceiling. Number 1 is zero waste. When a house crumbles, it returns to the earth. No landfill, no pollution, because it's using earth. Number 2 is local materials. There is no need to be shipping materials from China. They use what's literally under their feet. Climate adaptation. Thick mud walls equals natural air conditioning. No energy guzzling HVAC systems. Just earth. I believe that what we can learn from this case study is that circular economy is nothing new. It's not some grand Silicon Valley startup idea. But Tiébélé in Burkina Faso has been doing this for 500 years. The material cycle is circular, earth to earth. No extraction, no exploitation. And we also need to learn from this that community is not a buzzword. Too often community engagement means a token workshop, but in Tiébélé, the community is the architect. What if we shifted from designing for to designing with each other? Now, I'm not romanticizing this. I know for a fact there are multiple challenges, and the first of which is that the Tiébélé model works for a close, tight-knit community. Would it be able to scale up to large-scale cities and different climates? I'm not too sure. And another main challenge is that it's easy to celebrate and admire the beauty and ingenuity of these houses, but the reality is that life in Tiébélé isn't without hardships. Lack of infrastructure, healthcare, and economic opportunities are real issues. These houses aren't perfect. They require constant upkeep. If the community disperses, say, because of urbanization or conflict, the knowledge disappears. And let's be honest, mud walls won't work for a skyscraper in the middle of London. But that's not the point. The lesson isn't to copy and paste Tiébélé. Instead, it's to take principles of community-led design, regenerative material, cultural storytelling, and adapt them to our context. How can we make architecture that's of a place and not just in a place? Instead of constantly asking and chasing, how do we grow? Let's just pause for a second and ask, how do we flourish? To wrap up, the Painted Houses of Tiébélé aren't just beautiful mud huts. They are a masterclass in doughnut economics. They show us how to nurture human nature by designing spaces that foster community, culture, and the planet. Look, at the end of the day, architecture is not about dominating nature. It's about coexisting with it. Dancing with it. Thank you.